Hi there! In this video, we will continue with another poorly written lesson plan for an integrated skill lesson. Pause this video, go to Learn, select V02, spend some time to read the textbook section. This is an extract from Tiếng Anh 6 tập 1, Unit 1, My New School, Lesson 5, Skill 1. Then answer the guiding questions. Question number 1. What is the objective of this textbook section? Question number 2. How many parts are there in this section? What is the purpose of each part? Is the design of these activities effective to achieve the objectives of the lesson? Okay, I guess you're very familiar with the objectives and approach of this section, right? As other Skill 1 sections in the new textbook, this section involves both reading, the receptive skill, and speaking, the productive skill. For reading, this part aims at developing students' reading competence. The reading text is often based on previously learned vocabulary and to make the activity achievable. It is interesting and relevant to the students and links with the topic of the unit. Important new vocabulary is introduced in the text and practiced in the follow-up activity. The reading also provides input for the speaking that follows. For speaking, this part aims at providing further practice which supports students in their production for free English speaking, using recently practiced English together with the previously learned one in the lesson. In this particular section, the reading section is preceded by a quick lead-in. Exercise number 2, Guessing meaning from context. Exercise number 3, Gap filling are chances for students to acquire new topical vocabulary items and practice reading for details. The last activity, Speaking, is a chance for the students to practice giving opinions about their school and explain the reasons why they like or don't like that school. In this activity, students need to make good use of the input provided in the speaking section. As you can see, the sequence of these activities is logical when they go from input to output, and accordingly, the level of cognitive development ranges from recognizing to explaining and judging. However, this textbook section still spares some room for improvement. First, the activities are not really well balanced when most of them focus on reading skill. Actually, in real-life communication, the 4 skills are not usually separated. We don't speak without listening. We read and talk about something. When we write, we also read. Otherwise, it's impossible. In classroom, these skills are often separated so that teachers can focus on micro skills such as pre-reading, predicting, reading for details, fluency, and so on. Well, this is good, but we also need to bring together the skills to make them communicative, more real life. Take this particular textbook section as an example. The reading and speaking section needn't be a strict, rigid separation. Speaking can be integrated during reading activities. So when? Speaking can be integrated at the beginning when students read and exchange information after Task 2, vocabulary, and at the end after they have acquired enough input for production. Second, although this section claims to help students reinforce their reading skill for specific information, teachers still need to guide them with reading strategies. So, as pointed out, your teaching practice, there should be adaptation to this textbook section. You now have a thorough understanding about the objectives and structure of the text. Let's have a look at the sample lesson plan, see how the teacher adapts the materials, and give your comments. Pause this video, go to Learn, Read 2, read a sample lesson plan, and answer the guiding questions. Question 1. What are the objectives stated in the lesson plan by the teacher? Are they well defined? Why or why not? Question number 2. Has the teacher made any adaptation to the lesson activity? Is the adaptation, if there is any, effective? Question number 3. If you have to teach this lesson, will you do differently? Have you got the answers to the 3 guiding questions? It cannot be denied that, in comparison with the previous lesson in video 1, this one have avoided some aforementioned mistakes. The teacher thoroughly understands the objectives of the textbook section, so the objectives of the lesson are not misleading. Plus, there is a wide variety of activities, but whether they are effective or not still need further analysis later. However, this lesson plan still has some problems with the objectives and activities. The thing is, the types of mistakes are different. Let's have a closer look now. Here is the objective written by the teacher. To develop strategies to read for specific information and to use some new words in context, such as boarding school, international school, and creative students. What's your first impression? This objective is relatively well defined, but the way it is written is a bit confusing because it's too long and complicated. Actually, there are 2 smaller objectives here. One relates to reading skills and the other relates to topical vocabulary. For the second objective, it is not necessary to specify every single new word that the students have to learn. Remember, one characteristic of a well-defined objective is clarity and conciseness. Hence, it can be rewritten as follows. By the end of this lesson, students will be able to, first, develop strategies to read for details, and second, accurately use some learned vocabulary related to school. As for activities, in this example, the teacher has done a good job in creating a big picture of the lesson with a lead-in and wrap-up, and he or she is able to create a connection between different parts of the lesson. What is noticeable here is that the teacher has made some adaptations with a variety of activities and tasks throughout the lesson. This is a strength and at the same time a weakness. By strong points, I mean the teacher is very creative in incorporating several stirring up activities in the form of lucky number game or wheel of fortune game to engage the students. They will sure like them. However, by weak points, I mean with such varieties of activities, the teacher tends to spend too much time on bringing fun and creativity into the classroom with games related to less important parts of the lesson, but ignore the more important part, that is, how to effectively integrate the 2 focused skills, reading and speaking. Let's look at the time-consuming lead-in lucky number game. The questions about school system in Vietnam are not very closely related to the topic. As you can see, brief elicitation questions related to the pictures in the textbook are relevant enough to set the mood and set the scenes for the students. Therefore, this game can be omitted to save time and to ensure the focus of the lesson. Besides, we can make a little change. Instead of requiring the students to look at the picture and ask what these pictures tell about the schools, we can add more guiding clues, such as what do these pictures tell you about the schools in terms of location, facilities, teaching and learning activities. This will encourage the students, especially weaker ones, to be more willing to talk. The vocab game, Wheel of Fortune, also takes a lot of time. Moreover, out of the 10 vocabulary items chosen, some are not key vocab items in the topic, such as province or playground. Within the limit of the lesson, the teacher needs to prioritize by selecting the most important items only. One more note is that, because these 2 games heavily rely on technology to be conducted, so there should be a backup plan in case there are technical problems. Now, let's come back to the question of how to effectively integrate reading and speaking, here are some suggestions. After the lead-in, ask students to close all their books. Divide the class into groups, and each group has a secretary. Grouping depends on the class size. Stick the reading texts on the wall, and students read the text, remember the information, and come back to their secretary and dictate what they remember. The winning team is the one who finishes the text first. Students then open their book to compare their dictation and original text. In this way, students practice not only reading and speaking, but also listening and writing. After Task 2, for students to practice the vocabulary items in a more meaningful way, ask the groups to make a meaningful sentence with each new word. In this way, students also practice speaking, and the teacher can check their pronunciation and see if they really know how to put them into use. This is the final comment. Because the teacher seems to mainly aim at bringing fun to the classroom, he or she forgets to pay enough attention to help the students achieve one of the more important goals. That is, students won't be able to develop strategies to read for specific information by the end of this lesson. In the bingo game for exercise 3, the students just complete the task without being equipped with effective and comprehensive strategies to tackle reading for details question type. This is a big shortcoming, as the game can simply be a lucky guess for some, and after that, they still do not know how to read for specific information. The lesson objective is hence unachieved. What will you do differently here? It might be a good idea to ask the students to share their own reading strategy, and then you can share your reading strategy with the students. The teacher can then give feedback and make sure every student has got hold of it before doing the exercise. Thanks to this, students will gradually develop their strategic reading skill for specific information. To sum up, from careful analysis of this second sample lesson plan, we can draw some other useful lessons. First, set clear and concise objectives. Second, keep focus. Whichever variety of activities you bring into the classroom, we should always bear in mind that we need to focus on the lesson. Do not overuse games. Do not let the activities blow you and your students away from the main learning goals. And third, in integrated skill lessons, different skills can be interwoven with each other in a harmonious way to make learning more real life and more meaningful. Thank you and goodbye.